Now, the best way for people to understand how to improve their resume and make it more effective is to take a look behind the curtain, so to speak, and understand what's going on at the company that is hiring and who's going to review your resume and decide whether or not you're worthy of an interview. At some point, and this will be more formal at some companies, less formal at others, a decision is made that the company feels if they hire somebody for this role, they're going to make more money. And that leads into a discussion of who would make us the most money, who would be most successful in this role that we're hiring for. Hiring manager, human resources, whoever they decide to be involved in that discussion, they come up with a list of duties, responsibilities, qualifications. They essentially create an ideal profile, or a profile of an ideal person they would like to hire. That profile is then given to a recruiter. The recruiter's told, go find us people that match this profile so we can interview them and decide who the top person is that we can offer the job to. So the recruiter is going to take that profile. First step is to create a job ad. They list something along the lines of, here's our company, aren't we great? Here's the job responsibilities, a description of what you'll be doing, and here's a list of qualifications that we are looking for. Essentially, they are giving you the answers to the test. They're telling you the profile that they want to hire. You have to read between the lines a little bit to really get an understanding of what they're looking for, but it's usually there if the job ad is pretty good. They will then use that same profile to review your resume to decide whether or not they want to interview you. And then, of course, in the interview, they'll ask you questions to determine how closely you fit that resume. So that first step for you is critical, to understand what it is that the company, at least from their point of view, sees as the ideal person. This is the one they're searching for. A lot of resume classes and so-called experts, unfortunately, I think, give the impression that there is this magical format that a resume can be put into, and that's going to get you an interview or get you a job, however they describe it. And they seem to have the impression that recruiters and hiring managers are reading every line of your resume and trying to decide whether or not you could do the job. That's just not what is happening. Okay? We are searching for a particular set of skills, a profile, and essentially your job is to make it easy and obvious for whoever's reviewing your resume that you're a fit. Okay? Now, going back to that job ad, there might be 10 things listed and you only fit 5 or 6. That's pretty typical. Your challenge then is to make sure that you emphasize those 5 or 6 things. A couple of different hurdles you're going to have to go through. And the first one is just simply because of the volume of resumes that corporate recruiters get. If you're with a bigger company and there's a team of recruiters at that company, there might be 30 or more jobs that that recruiter is responsible for, and reviewing hundreds of resumes for each one of those jobs, it's just too time consuming to have somebody sit there and read every resume. So they invest in a nice software program that is going to electronically scan all of the resumes that they receive. And the recruiter can simply type in a few key phrases or words that they get from this profile, and that way only spend time reviewing the resumes that have a high probability of being a match to that profile. For you, this means your first hurdle is to make sure that you take some of the keywords that the recruiter used in the job ad and make sure that they are in your resume, because if I'm the recruiter and I write the job ad, I'm likely to use some of the same phrases and terms when I do my search in this software program. And if your resume does not contain what I'm looking for in those keywords, you might not even have your resume reviewed by human eyes. So there's your first hurdle. The second hurdle is the human element. Now, a year or two ago, a company did a survey nationwide in the United States of recruiters, and they asked them, how long do you typically take to review a resume? The average time, meaning sometimes they spent less, sometimes they spent more, the average time is 6 seconds. So you do not have a lot of time to make a good impression, meaning that you fit what we're looking for. So the second hurdle, the key for you, is to pick out those 5 or 6 areas where you match this profile I'm looking for and make it easy and obvious if I'm glancing down at your resume to see that you're a fit in those areas. The way I train my recruiters to review resumes physically is to place them in one of 3 piles, one of 3 categories, A, B, and C. The C pile is the largest pile always. It does not match the profile. Those people are not going to get a phone call. The B pile, the middle pile, maybe matches, sort of on the fence, and if there's a phone interview in the process, we're going to ask you some questions to figure out what side of the fence you fall on. The A pile, always the smallest pile, means at least on paper, they seem like they're a bullseye for this ideal profile that we're searching for. First people we're going to call, first people we're going to try to get in to interview. If we fill up the interview schedule, we won't even move on to the B pile, because we're just trying to fill the position. It's not about determining whether or not you need the job or you're a good person or any of that. We have this set criteria that we're looking for, this profile that we're looking for, and as soon as we find them, we have other jobs to fill. So it is really incumbent upon you to make it as easy and, like I said, obvious. When we're glancing through 2 seconds, 3 seconds, we can see that you seem to be a good match. We want to explore you as a candidate further. Now that means taking into consideration that, like most people, recruiters and hiring managers read from top to bottom, that you need to have your strongest matching experience or qualifications near the top of the page. If you put it down to the bottom and you put weaker information at the top, we might stop reading before we even get to the stuff you really want us to know. So like I said, that's where the font or the bold or things like that that draw our eyes to the things that are most important for us in that profile becomes important. You don't want to be too wordy. You want to keep it to 1 page if at all possible. Again, we're trying to glance down after reviewing hundreds and hundreds of resumes and make a quick determination whether you go into the A, B, or C pile and move on from there. So when you go into these classes and you see people talking about this format or that format, borders, font, any of that, it really does not make a difference to us. We're not making decisions on we want to hire this person because we like the border on their resume or anything like that. As long as it looks professional, as long as it emphasizes that you're a match for what I'm looking for, you're going to have more success. If your current resume is getting you about 2% response, calls from 2% of the resumes you send out, you can get it up to 15, 20%, and obviously that's going to make a huge difference on your job search. In terms of style of resumes, point I will make on that is, again, not how we're making our determination as to who gets the interview, but different styles do emphasize different aspects of a person's background. So if you do a search online and you come up with a chronological resume, which I think most people are familiar with, it's where your furthest back experience is at the bottom of the page and your most recent experience is at the top. That really emphasizes the experience you have in one line of work. So if you have 10 years experience in that line of work and we can see growth and your skills have developed over the years, that is emphasizing what you want to emphasize. If you are new to the job market, freshly graduating, or you are switching from one line of work to another, a chronological resume is actually going to emphasize what you don't want to emphasize, which is you don't have a lot of experience in that line of work. You might take a look at a functional resume or a combination resume. Functional resumes are going to emphasize skills that maybe you had in this line of work that are relevant to the profile that we're looking for in this line of work. So there is a slight importance just based on what you want to emphasize. But in either case, you want to show how you match. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about making sure that we understand how you match the profile that we are looking for. I hope that that gives you some insight and gives you a little bit of an advantage versus the competition in terms of developing a resume that's going to be more effective. It is a competition. We are looking for skills. Your labor is a commodity that you are trying to get the highest price for. And the stronger you start with a good solid resume that matches the profile, the more success you're going to have in getting into the interview process. The more I think you understand the profile, the better you'll do in the interviews. And again, resumes are not the only way to get into the interview process, especially now with social media sites and just your networking, but it's still a big part of it. And so I hope you get the job that you're looking for. I hope this was valuable. I appreciate you watching. Please take a look at the other videos in this series.